What's up, Clemson Tiger fans? Happy Sunday. You guys know what I say. Every day above ground is a great day as far as I'm concerned, and every day is a great day to be a Clemson Tiger. So Clemson coming off a bye week, a much needed bye week, not just for the team, but for me and some of you too. It was nice to sit back for a weekend and not have to worry about Clemson getting humiliated by a team that they're better than, and watch some other teams have that problem instead. But so I wanted to talk a little bit today about the remainder of this season, this game against Duke that's upcoming, some of the things that were said in the off week by defensive coordinator Tom Allen that I thought were pretty interesting, and last but not least, Clemson's biggest game going forward. I guess you could say they're all big games because they're in jeopardy of not even making a bowl game, so they need to win. But the season closer in the regular season against in-state rival South Carolina. We saw South Carolina yesterday. Really was impressive for the majority of that game. Heartbreaking loss at home. Alabama came back to win it at the end. Lenore Sellers balled out yesterday. Did he play perfect? No, but Alabama was just too much for him in the end. But you know, what Dabo says every year is there's a list of goals that they have listed for the team. And that is win the opener. They didn't do that. Win the league. They're not going to do that. Win the state, which is the game against South Carolina. They can still technically do that, right? And win the closer. If Clemson doesn't beat Duke this weekend, there's a good chance that South Carolina will be the closer. So you would have two goals in one game, or you could either win or achieve two goals in one game, or not achieve any goals that you had listed for the entire season. If you lose to South Carolina, you could lose the state and the closer at the same time if you don't make a bowl game. So anyway, Tom Allen said some things I thought were pretty interesting. When talking about the defense, he was very critical of the defense, as he should be. They played their worst game of the year. They've been good in some spots, but very inconsistent. And when the game against SMU was just bad, like all across the board there. But it's interesting what he said was, he said, you know, I like to recruit a certain type of player. He mentioned a couple of attributes. Speed was one, which is something that this team on both sides of the ball, outside of maybe Wesco and Tristan Smith on offense, not a lot of speed on Clemson's offense, but yeah, the defense is lacking speed big time. And you saw that really was a huge problem against SMU. SMU's got some real speedsters on the outside, and that running back is maybe the fastest running back in the country, if not the fastest. He's one of them. And he just absolutely torched Clemson's secondary. And that was the difference in the game, really. But he said, yeah, I like to recruit speed. I like to recruit guys with long arms. And this is what was really interesting. What he said was, and when I came here, that's not what we had. So he kind of threw both the players and the coaching staff at Clemson under the bus by saying that, like, they don't have the right guys to be successful here. Yeah, they got a bunch of very talented guys that are probably going to play in the NFL, but not the type of guys that I need to run this defense. And of course, he assured that's going to be his goal moving forward into next year, is to get guys on the team to do exactly that. You know, recruit. Whether it's the transfer portal or through recruiting, he wants to get guys in there that are long and fast. And that's what he had at Penn State. And people are like, why was he so successful at Penn State, but he's having trouble at Clemson with all these NFL prospects? Well, that's why. I guess they don't fit his style of defense and his style of defensive play calling the way that he would like. Now, I would love to believe that. I have to take it at face value and believe that he will do everything he can to get that right going into next year and beyond. Some of the rumors floating around on the interwebs, and of course, you guys know everything on the internet's true, right? I mean, nobody ever says anything that's not true on the internet. But you know, in the Clemson world on social media, it's been this somebody I think made up a rumor that Garrett Riley has been informed that this will be his final season at Clemson. I don't buy that for a second. I don't think that's how Dabo operates. I don't think that's how Graham Neff operates. And if I'm Garrett Riley, and you come to me in week 8 or week 9 and say, hey buddy, just gonna give you a solid here and let you know that this is gonna be your final season as offensive coordinator here, I'm like, no, it's not. It's gonna be my final day here, because if you're firing me, I'm leaving. Why would I stick around and continue to coach for the remainder of the season when you're telling me that I'm a lame duck coach now? I'm getting out there and putting my name in the hat with all these coaching changes that are happening around the country right now. I'm getting my name in the hat early, so I have a job next year at a place that I really would like to be. So I don't think for a second that's true. Now, having said that, I do think this probably will be Garrett Riley's last season at Clemson. It's been kind of interesting to see the way that Dabo Swinney has talked about the offense. Look, Dabo Swinney's got one of the things that I've admired about him over his career is also one of the things that can hurt you. And I think you're seeing it hurt him right now. And that is, sorry, my phone is tilting. And that is the fact that Dabo likes to hire his coordinators and his coaches and kind of stay out of their way. Dabo Swinney is not one of these guys that meddles in every single play call and every single personnel decision on every play. He obviously has his fingerprints in the offense. We all know that. I think a lot of these stupid trick plays that are run, and with the defensive and offensive linemen, the jumbo package plays, I think Dabo Swinney has a lot to do with that. I think I could see Dabo Swinney sitting in his kitchen table in the morning drinking his coffee and writing up these stupid plays and coming up with these trick plays, and he gets a good kick out of running them, and when they work, he loves it, and you can see how he's like a little kid on the sideline. He's all giddy. But for the most part, Dabo Swinney lets these coordinators be coordinators and stays out of their way. But he has been pretty critical of the play calling situations, the lack of running in certain situations, the same way that all of his fans have. And you kind of see the frustration and hear it in his voice when he talks about it. And I think the writing is on the wall for Garrett Riley. Now, again, this is Dabo Swinney's fault for hiring Garrett Riley, because this is you should know who you're hiring. And this is the kind of system that he runs. I mean, I've talked about it ad nauseum, that Garrett Riley runs a watered down version of the air raid system. And I know Dabo is a receiver, or was a receiver and a receiver's coach, and he likes to pass the ball too. But if you go back and look at all the other former coordinators under Dabo Swinney, offensive coordinators, there's been several of them. This is the only one that looks this way. Clemson, when they were great offensively, were a balanced team. I used to always brag. You go back to watch my original YouTube videos when I came on in 2017 and 2018 and 2019. I used to come on here and brag about Clemson's offense being the most balanced in the country. They were almost 50-50 split run to pass. And that has gradually gone away since Tony Elliott left. Started with, even Streeter liked to throw it more than I liked. But now Garrett Riley's taking it to a whole nother level. And I know what people tell me. The people that argue with me in the comment section say, well, Pete, it's not because they like to pass the ball. It's because they have to, because the offensive line can't run block and we don't have any good running backs. I just disagree with both of those points. I think we do have good running backs. We just don't even try to give them a chance to touch the ball. I mean, just look at the statistics. I mean, when you bring in Keith Adams Jr., he makes plays. Gideon Davidson, he's a true freshman, but he's got almost zero opportunities. I mean, he gets one or two carries a game on average, except he carried the ball 9 times in one game and carried it pretty well. But outside of that, he's got very little opportunity. And as far as the offensive line is concerned, their pass blocking isn't any better than their run blocking. So it's not like they're good at pass blocking, but they can't run block. So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. Anytime I start talking about Clemson's offense, I get perturbed. Shout out to Carolina Jackpot. But I do think this will be Garrett Riley's last season. The question is, what direction will they go from there. Last and not least, we talked a little bit about South Carolina. If I'm projecting right now, just knowing what I know, based on what I've seen from both South Carolina's football team and Clemson's football team, if they played this weekend in Columbia, I'm taking South Carolina to win. Obviously, I don't hope that happens. Obviously, I hope Clemson cleans some things up defensively and finds a way to have an answer for Lenora Sellers in November. But I need to see it before I believe it. You know what I mean? I mean, look, South Carolina's got a lot of problems, too. Their offense is a one-man show, maybe a two-man show when you add in Nick Harbor. But Lenora Sellers is a handful. But when you watch that game yesterday, Lenora Sellers was phenomenal for the vast majority of that game. As a matter of fact, he was the reason they were leading going into the fourth quarter against Alabama. At the end, Alabama just became too much for him. But guess what? I got bad news for you, Clemson fans. Clemson ain't Alabama. If he plays like he played yesterday against Clemson's defense, it's going to be a really rough day for the Tigers in Columbia. A really rough day. So they need to figure something out there. But if I had to pick right now, I think both these teams are bad. They both have a lot of problems. They both have been massively disappointing compared to the expectations coming into the season. But I think, and this sounds really terrible to say, I think South Carolina is slightly less terrible than Clemson. I'm being serious. Does anybody disagree with me about that? I'm being serious there. So I don't know. Look, I'm looking ahead to South Carolina because that's the biggest game on the schedule. But we still got some big games. We got to get a home win. We've got to get a home win against the Power 4 team, man. And Duke is not a terrible team. I think they're as good or better than SMU, and we just saw what happened against that with SMU. So Clemson needs to not just win this weekend, not just for the record and to make a bowl, just for morale, just for the overall morale in the football facility, on campus at Clemson, and in the fan base. Clemson needs to win this weekend bad. Then they got to go on the road and play Louisville. A very good team on a Friday night, nonetheless. So that's a real rough one there. Then they got Florida State, then they got Furman, then they got South Carolina. So anyway, let me know what you think about everything I said here today. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit that hype button too. YouTube really cares about that. Apparently, I don't even know what the hype button does, to be honest with you. But I guess hit it. It's there. It's free. So anyway, yeah, make sure you hit all those buttons that YouTube puts up there. And of course, more importantly, leave a comment and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of your Sunday.